So before white toes got chose, y'all, it was gold clogs get snogged.
Zeinab and her mother moved in with Queen Reem to await the prince's return, and I just love that. Queen Reem's such a girl's girl. I love that for all of them.
Had passed. So she disguised herself as a nobleman and rode into the prince's palace. The truth deserves to be spoken, presented by an unafraid and compassionate intellectual. After all, the tongue is a sword of justice. Hey y'all, it's your girl Don Del Cielo here, back with another video and fun installation of Makeup and Mythology Monday. If you're new here, hi, I'm Dom, your favorite brownie baddie, and every Monday I do my makeup while telling y'all a beloved story and its origins. So if that's your vibe and or you just like funny women, makeup, anything like that, make sure to like this video, share with your friends, and subscribe, and comment down below your favorite part. Okay, yalla binat.
Let's go, girls.
So I'll put this down below, and then also I will make the watermelon tragedy happen in April. And today we're gonna commemorate a culture of the Middle East / North Africa. Today's story comes to us from the wonderful land of Palestine, a very popular place since October. Palestine is a country in the Levant of West Asia that has been under 13 different occupations by, including on an exhaustive list, Syrians, Ottoman Empire, Greeks, just to name a few. Palestinians have a long history and deep roots to their land and traditions. Modern Palestinians' culture reflects the confluence of many peoples: Arab, Armenian, Canaanites, Greeks, Bedouin tribes, etc. Olive trees are profoundly important to the culture, as well as hummus, dabka, and falafel. Also, Jaffa was known for its world-famous oranges. So I found this story from the blog of Sonia Suleiman, who is an author who writes speculation fiction inspired by Palestinian folklore, and her work has appeared in Audiblit, Quarterly, Bellati, and Seize the Press.
The story is called The Daughter of the Rose and the Jasmine, from the book An Illustrated Treasury of Palestinian Folktales by Najwa Kadwar Farah.
Now, Farah was born in Nazareth, Palestine in 1923 and had contributed to the Arab literary movement for 5 decades, which is amazing. She did training in college in mandatory Palestine when it was under British rule, and taught various schools. Now, her family had moved around the West Bank during the late 1960s, then to Lebanon in 1977, UK London in 1985, and Toronto, Canada from 1995 until her passing in 2015. She had a nice long life. Most of her protagonists are ordinary Palestinian women uprooted from their homes and who seek answers to their individual and collective historical predicaments. In the foreword of an illustrated treasury of Palestinian folklore, she explains that attempts at a PBS was stopped by Israeli authorities. This book is just dedicated to Palestinian women in recognition of their suffering and the steadfastness and their inestimable contribution to the binding together of Palestinian society, and for their unwavering courage and hope. And here's to Palestinian women, Palestinian Cinderella for Palestinian women, sorry. Once upon a time, Prince Hassan finds a golden clog left nearby a spring. He imagined the woman who could have owned it and decided that he wanted to marry her. The woman of his dreams, he so thinks. So before white toes got chose, y'all, it was gold clogs get snogged. Wow! Okay, he told his mother, Queen Reem, and begged her to find his dream woman. So she searched all the houses for the girl with the matching gold clog.
Queen Reem reached the house of a widow who politely welcomed her into her home.
Aliyah welcomed her, the queen, politely into her home, and Aliyah explained to the queen that she has a daughter named Zeinab who was away visiting some friends. And Aliyah explained to Queen Reem that Zeinab had fallen ill and was unable to walk. So Aliyah prayed desperately and vowed that if her daughter could walk again, she would be walking on gold. Thus, the golden clogs that Queen Reem had. Queen Reem had her servant show the golden clog to Aliyah. Aliyah felt elated to show the queen the matching golden clog that belonged to her daughter, because she thought, Queen Aliyah thought, that the loss of the golden clog was an omen that Zeinab's illness had come back, or was going to return. So once Zeinab returned, Queen Reem adored her and was charmed. She decided to set up Zeinab with the prince. So Queen Reem was convinced that fate had led her son to fall in love with the girl she called the daughter of the rose and the jasmine.
So naturally, the prince is so excited to know all about this girl from the missing clog, but the queen doesn't tell him about her, even though he keeps asking.
This girl, but the queen refused, as it was custom for a groom not to see the bride before the wedding. The prince grew impatient, as a man does, and the queen agreed to let him catch a glimpse of her. Meanwhile, the prince's cousins knew about the whole situation as well and were super jealous.
One cousin was so envious that she set out to ruin the match for Prince Hassan because she's a hater.
Ignorant bitch.
The envious cousin, Shula, found out the queen's plan to provide a peek of the future princess to the prince. The prince was told that his bride would be holding a silver ewer. So Shula timed it perfectly so that she was the one seen with the ewer and not the real Zeinab. Apparently, his cousin was a grenade. So Prince Hassan was pissed. He was pissed, and he called off the marriage.
Queen Reem was flabbergasted and told the prince to get his ass checked. But still, the prince was upset and did not want to go through with the marriage.
The marriage annulled. He was over it. The prince attended the horse race before the celebration. That happened as part of like tradition. But then after that, he was when he's supposed to veil the bride. The Prince Hassan had ridden off one of his horses to his secret palaces.
I'm ready to get the fuck ASAP after this.
And leaving Zeinab shocked and abandoned and traumatized. But Queen Reem was just like soothing at her and saying that the prince had urgent business.
So Zeinab and her mother moved in with Queen Reem to await the prince's return. And I just love that. Queen Reem's such a girl's girl. I love that for all of them.
Had passed, and Zeinab began to lose her patience. Rightfully so, because she disguised herself as a nobleman and rode into the prince's palace. She met a gardener there and asked him where the prince was. What he doing out here? The gardener responded that the prince was hunting. Hunting what? I don't know. So Zeinab told the gardener to tell the prince that the son of the Rose and Jasmine came to see him. The gardener responded, "I've never heard of such a tribe. Will you return tomorrow?"
She agreed. The gardener told the prince about the handsome nobleman who was looking for him, and the prince was intrigued. Very, very intrigued.
Was intrigued and excited. Like, someone's looking for me? A man? Away the nobleman. Then Zeinab returned the next day in her masked drag disguise, giving daddy. The prince eagerly showed her around his lovely garden as he was struck by her appearance, which is still kind of funny. The prince and Zeinab Mulan have this interesting exchange as they wander through the garden.
Zeinab had asked the prince about apples and henna, and he says,
"Dye their hair and hands and feet." Zeinab says, "The flower of henna, beautiful and sweet, by your scent, you excel every flower. I swear by Mecca and all the praises therein, you are beloved and always will be." The prince was amused. He was also surprised that Zeinab asked about the apple tree, and he says to her, "Have you really never seen one of these before? Really? Like, really?" she responded, "Apple, we do not eat you. Sour, you bother us. Strange, we do not marry you. You quit deserting us. If we marry, it should be from our own folks." His mother then would have comfort us. Confused, Prince Hassan is starting to think that this visitor is not a man. And not like anyone he's ever met before. After bandaging her leg that was cut by a sharp branch on a tree,
the two sat down to eat cheese, where Zeinab says to the prince, "Cheese is
the food that we loved is cheese. Only I question, were we the deserters, or was it you?" Now, when Zeinab tried to leave the house, the prince refused. He explained that they were in his palace. And then, unable to stop himself, he overshared about the golden clog, his engagement. And then Zeinab had responded to him like, "Well, you did not act wisely in this situation." And Prince Hassan replied, "Anyway, she was nothing like the daughter of the rose and the jasmine." Then, hearing this, Zeinab jumped on her horse and left him sad and alone in his palace. Savage.
The prince was heartbroken and wanted to marry the adventurous stranger who had just abandoned him. Eventually, he agreed to visit his mother, Queen Reem, on one special condition.
Queen Reem, on the condition that his bride-to-be be sent away while he was there. That he did not want to see her. He still thinks it's your cousin. And then the queen listened to the prince as she told
about the visitor and how amazing they were.
About the visitor, about how they were beautiful, so beautiful and so witty, and able to compose poetry on the spot. And he says, "Mother, I am in love. You have to find them." He doesn't care whether it's a man or a woman. Love that for you. Bye, king.
Queen Reem called in her servant
and told them to prepare a meal for the prince. The Prince Hassan stood up and he was like, "Is she here? I told you to send her away. I do not want to see that grenade of a cousin of mine." Queen Reem replied, we cannot do that. We looked for her after all." I was like, "No, you told me to find her. I found her. So we have to look after her. We found her. What's done is done. We made an agreement. You have to marry her." The prince demanded, "Send her away. I might harm her." But as the prince fumed, a gentle voice in the other room said, "Who is making all that noise? Is it the same one who tended to my wounds with a royal handkerchief?"
What a shame that we live in a time when princes are so forgetful.
The prince was silent, and she continues, "It seems neither Rose nor Jasmine could induce you to see the truth shaded from me." Zeinab stepped out of the room wearing the golden clogs and blood-stained handkerchief the prince's monogram on it. Now, when the prince recognized her and the things that they had, they rushed to each other and embraced and laughed and cried, you know? This is a moment. So once the news had spread of the prince's return and the happy reunion, naturally, the townspeople were gathered and into the palace gardens and celebrated the union with the happy couple. And they all lived happily ever after. The end.
I thought the story was so cute. It did fit the Cinderella archetype of the Aaron Thompson units of 510A, Tales of Magic, Rescued Heroine, Girl with Forsaken Circumstances Suddenly Changed Due to A Remarkable Future. And yeah, I do love the way they put the shoes at the beginning instead of at the end. I love that everyone's very self-aware. Everyone's very proactive. Actually, the women are very active in the story. They're not just waiting for anyone to come and save them. She comes and gets him, which I'm like, okay, girl, I see you. I see you, queen. Sisters are doing it for themselves. I also think mainly the good underlining of this thing is that the good things happen to good people, and then try to hold on to morality, though it may be hard sometimes. And I think always to be honest and communicative and try to be clear communicators because, he thought he was going to marry his cousin, and I'm glad he didn't want to do that. I feel like that's the vibes, but let me know what you guys think about the story below. I thought it was a really cool story.
I have enjoyed every second of work that I put into this story, from the research, the writing, filming, editing, and now releasing it 5 months later. I'm so eternally grateful to have Arab friends, and especially Palestinian friends, who have shared their culture with me, helped me learn a little bit of Arabic, and now trusted me with the important task of helping their families survive the Israeli genocide in Gaza. They can deny it all they want to, but the world sees what's happening and what Israel's been doing. We can see that they're using very well documented methods of bringing about the destruction of Palestinian people in part or in whole, as dictated in international law. I won't let them gaslight us anymore, or especially gaslight me. In July 2024, the International Court of Justice has found multiple and serious international violations by Israel towards Palestinians in occupied Palestinian territories, finding Israel responsible for apartheid. Apartheid and genocide are undeniably crimes against humanity. Genocide of the Palestinians has been very literal, material, and real. As of filming, documented death toll in Gaza is 41,586 since last October 7th, and over 96,000 Palestinians have been injured, including amputations and disabilities. The documented totals are of people that could be identified. The medical journal Lancet states that the death toll is estimated 186,000 people conservatively. Lancet states even if the conflict ends immediately, there will be continued indirect deaths in the coming months and years from causes such as reproductive, communicable, and non-communicable diseases. The death toll is estimated to be large given the intensity of this conflict, destroyed healthcare infrastructure, severe shortages of food, water, and shelter, population's inability to flee to safe places, the loss of funding to UNRWA, one of the very few humanitarian organizations still alive, active in the Gaza Strip. Also, I'll just never forget the father in Palestine and Gaza that was handed a 70-pound bag of body parts and was told by officials to bury that as his son after one of Israel's many massacres over the past year. According to UNICEF, A total of 143 Palestinian children have been killed in the West Bank since last October, which is about 2.5 times more than the year before, where you had 41 children who were Palestinian who passed away or who were killed by conflict violence versus 2 Israeli children. Israeli aggression is, now hitting Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen. Yet Israel has been particularly focused on eliminating Palestinians and their culture through cultural genocide, through their continuous bombardment of Gaza, which we are seeing now is like the deliberate destruction of their culture and their identity. And it's an attempt to systematically destroy Palestinians. Since October 7, 2023, Israeli bombardment of Gaza has damaged or completely destroyed more than 100 historical sites, such as the Othman bin Kashgar Mosque, the Anthedon Harbor, the Byzantine Church of Jambalia, and the Ham al-Samara. The last 2 predate Islam. This violates the Hague Convention agreed to by both Palestinians and Israelis, and is supposed to safeguard landmarks from the ravages of war. But at this point, who was really that surprised that the Zionist entity broke a promise and reneged on their word? Not I. All this to say that hopefully my telling of this Palestinian Cinderella story can help to preserve Palestinian culture for years to come. Mythology and folklore are important because they provide context for our world. They provide inspiration, and they reflect our values as well as reinforcing our cultural heritage to understand our past and where we come from. In the words of the late great Edward Said, who spoke and educated the world about Orientalism, which is kind of like the short lens through which the global North views global South, namely Middle East, Asia, and Africa. He has so many great quotes, but he definitely spoke about the importance of Palestinians telling their point of view and telling their story. He says, "Nothing in my view is more reprehensible than the habits of the mind and the intellectual that induce avoidance, that characteristic turning away from a difficult and principled position, which you know to be the right one, but which you decide not to take. You do not want to appear too political. You are afraid of seeming controversial. You want to keep a reputation for being balanced, objective, moderate. Your hope is to be asked back to consult, to be on a board or a prestigious committee, and so to remain within the responsible mainstream. Someday, you hope to get an honorary degree, a big prize, perhaps even an ambassadorship. For intellectual, these habits of mine are corrupting par excellence. If anything can denature, neutralize, and finally kill a passionate intellectual life, is the internalization of such habits. Personally, I have encountered them in one of the toughest contemporary issues, Palestine. For fear of speaking about one of the greatest injustices in modern history has hobbled, flunkered, and muzzled many who know the truth and are in a position to serve it. But despite the abuse and vilification at any outspoken Palestinian supporter of Palestinian rights and self-determination earns for himself, the truth deserves to be spoken, presented by an unafraid and compassionate intellectual. After all, the tongue is a sword of justice, so please continue to talk about Palestine, donate to families in Gaza and the West Bank and other areas affected by imperialism. So please remember to donate to these organizations participating in relief. And thank you for watching. Free Palestine.